So as we can see here, we've got a chase in the existing wall for the cables and electrics coming down. There's two chases here. This cable's put in conduit, which is like an oval shaped plastic. That's to protect it once the plaster goes on. And this here, we put capping over, which is just like a flat sheet of plastic. Again, that's tacked on with nails down here, and that runs down to the bottom of the cable, and then we float and set over the top of that. And this is how it looks when it's had the bonding or hardwall put over the top. It's run out smooth with existing plaster, and then you can see the scratches that are put in as it dries, which creates a better surface for the finish, the top coat, to stick to afterwards. And then that will be feathered in, and the whole wall will be plastered all the way through to give it a nice smooth finish. So as well as repairing the new chases on the existing wall, this is the new wall of the extension, which is the inside skin, which is blockwork. So what we've seen earlier is the electrics are surface mounted, the cables, with the capping on top to protect. We've set the back boxes about 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch away from the blockwork, and then we floated this all level with hardwall. So we've PVA'd the wall to obviously make it stickier, and then we floated hardwall all the way across over the top of the capping and up to the level so it's flush with the top of the socket. And then once this is drying off, we'll scratch it so the finish sticks quicker and better, and then we'll put 2 coats of finish to give us the finished wall. So the finish will be completely smooth. That's your top coat of finish. You then, as it's drying, use the water, trowel it up to give it the nice flush finish, and then once that's dried, that's when you can paint straight on top. So this wall's exactly the same as a new wall. This is an existing wall, which was the back of the house. So we obviously had a few holes where the brickwork came out. There was a bit of brickwork here, a bit of blockwork here. It was all a bit of an uneven mess. So what we've done, same as the blockwork, we've brought it out with hardwall. So we've PVA'd it first, brought it out with the hardwall, ruled it off so it's now level and flat, which takes us all the way up to the new ceiling here. And how we put the ceiling on, we had all the existing rafters there, the new rafters here, and because there's 2 steels in here, we've used 2 layers of plasterboard for fire. The other way of doing it is we can use 1 layer of pink plasterboard, which is fire resistant. So we've run that round, created square edges, and put the beads straight on ready for plastering. So the plasterboard, you cut to where the edge of the joists are. So if you've got a 2-inch joist, which most of them are, you take your board halfway across, you've got a fixing on both sides, and you get a bigger board, a wider board as possible, which creates less gaps, which obviously means less scrim, which is the tape we use to cover gaps. And then you get your edge, cut off any excess board, and then these are called angle beads. These are skim coat beads that you then plaster straight up to get a nice hard, firm edge. So as you saw earlier, we've already run the cables for the first fix, and to make it easier for when we're plastering, we coil the cables up for the downlighters and leave them between the joists. And the best way of doing that is we obviously run them symmetrically, but the electrician's done a map so he knows exactly, once it's all plastered, where to put the core cutter in to drill straight up through the new plasterwork. He'll find his cable, pull it through, connect up the downlighter, and then that will fit straight back into the hole, and all the electrics are then second fixed, as well as the ceiling being completely plastered without any damage from the cables. So once the plasterboard goes up, you've obviously got gaps, which is where one board meets the other. Before you plaster, you have to put something called scrim, which is basically a textured gauze or tape, and that runs over. So when the plaster shrinks, as it dries out, it's not going to shrink into these gaps, which will cause a crack. You can see ceilings with cracks that run the length of the boards where they join, and that's because the scrim's not gone on. So as the plaster's cracked, it's shrunk, and you can see fine cracks. But with this, that prevents any cracking once you plaster on top. So it's important not to forget to scrim every single joint and gap on the plasterboard.